I welcome you all back from the lunch break. I hope you have enjoyed it. I am Margarita Pournara, Καθημερινής columnist. We're back in EmTech Europe by MIT in association with Καθημερινή. We've heard lots of fascinating stuff in the morning, and we have much more interesting things coming up. So for our next session, I would like to introduce you our Greek AI rising star, Andrianos Botsios. He's a high school student, but he has developed this amazing robot. It's called Niki, so a warm welcome. And he's going to be interviewed by my dear colleague, Thanasis Katsikidis from Kathimerini.
Hi all. It's our great pleasure meeting you, having you here at the EmTech conference. It's my great pleasure also because I'm young. I have a high school student next to me. Andrianos is only 18 years old, just to know.
17.
17, even greater. At the age of 13, Andrianos developed the first Greek robot, Niki, which uses a language model AI to communicate with us. Now a high school student in a Greek school, I have to be precise, Andrianos, recognizing the transformative power of AI, created dynamic innovation, a group focused on using technology, AI, and robotics to address global challenges. What is so impressive is that Andrianos, his bio goes all the way to advocating the Council of Europe, and it's worth mentioning that the young scientist I have next to me founded the Parga Library and Cultural Center in Greece, turning an abandoned school into a cultural hub. Andrianos, welcome.
Thank you. It's a great honor to be here, and it's an amazing conference that brings so many like-minded minds to talk about the future and about technology, and it's a great honor to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
I have a question for you. At your age, when I was 13, 14, 17 years old, we used to play football, video games, and never imagined to build a robot. What inspired you at such a young age to focus on technology and building a humanoid robot that we see over there, guys?
Well, I do play football and with my friends, we do play video games. But to answer that question, I got to go a little bit back in time. It was, I think my first ever presentation was a very small science fair that I did in first grade. And I had presented there the water cycle, where we made clean water from dirty water. And it was yet a simple concept. But when I finished the presentation, I was asking my teacher, I remember asking her, so we have access to clean water everywhere, right? Everywhere in the world we have access to clean water. And she's like, no, that's not what is happening. So that sort of really got me thinking, because such a simple process I was able to do in first grade, yet we still have a problem with clean water everywhere in the world, and in many places of the world. So that's sort of where the whole vision began, where I wanted to contribute and make a change to the world somehow, make it better. And yeah, from there on, I started working with sustainability, and I founded a team called the Green Team, which works on sustainability issues. And then slowly, as we worked with many of our projects, we saw that a solution to sustainability is technology, is AI. I remember we were developing a pattern for a model of a sustainable and smart city, and we would use AI, such as traffic control, monitoring CO2 pollution, in order to, and also AI systems to save energy. So I saw that a large part of what is sustainability problems can be solved through technology. And that's sort of where it happened. I started working a lot with technology. And eventually in 2019, 2020, where AI was starting to peak, I sat down and I saw that many of my friends did not know what AI was. You heard of it, but you just thought it was a big black screen where you don't know what's going on. So I set out to create a project that would break that barrier of that black box that AI is just an algorithm that we don't have access to, and make it more familiar so people would actually play along with AI. And that's where the idea of Niki came along, a project that uses artificial intelligence, natural language processing to speak, computer vision to recognize, Internet of Things, robotics.
What was the biggest challenge in designing and crafting Niki?
Well, crafting Niki was a journey itself. I mean, I started when I was 13, and up until this day, there are so many things that you add because technology changes. I think one of the biggest problems was the problems you never expected to have. Because when you build a project, you do allocate times and you say, yeah, something's going to go wrong, but you never really imagine what can go wrong to the perspective. I mean, I remember when I was building Niki, she's, the hardware is taken from an open source project called InMove Robot, and before I even began 3D printing, because it's fully 3D printed, the 3D printer broke about 2 times and I had to go repair it. So there's things that you would never imagine would go wrong, actually end up going wrong.
As I know, you developed Niki 5 years ago, so what's next for Niki's development, and also what are your new projects?
Well, now I'm going to be studying at the US, computer science and artificial intelligence. Niki, well, it's also part of a program I've created to introduce AI and ethics. I'll be giving her to a team of younger students to work on her and make her even better, things that maybe even me and my team could have never put in. Well, as per projects that will continue, certainly one of the big places that I feel like I can contribute and I have knowledge is robotics and AI, as it was talked before. It's one of the 2 biggest industries, the combination of robotics and AI, and specifically humanoid robotics. So certainly that's something that I will be working on, a newer version of Niki, as you could say, from scratch, that could be used in homes. People could have a robot in homes at a lower cost, and workplaces as well. And there's also other projects that I'm working on alongside sustainability, such as I'm working now with a team of university students to develop a smart recycling can that uses AI to sort garbage for us, recyclables from non-recyclables.
I see. So I read that you have developed a book for schools that will introduce the young students into the AI world. You wrote it in 2 languages. I have it over here.
Yes.
Just a second. So that's the English version. It's packed. How many pages?
Well, there's different versions. Like we keep on adding stuff. It's around 123.
So how do you see this manual contributing to AI literacy in schools?
Well, this is part of a program that I started after having built Niki around 2020, 2021. I started this program that I noticed that I knew me and my teams knew about AI, but there was other students who didn't know about AI, and yet they were encountering it every day in their lives. We encounter AI every day in our lives. So it was part of an initiative to bring AI and ethics into schools. And this is what I had also, as you were talking, presented at the Council of Europe. And I'm collaborating with the World Human Forum to bring it to Greek public schools, to give access to students to learn about AI. And part of what you need is in that book, and the innovation in that book is that the world has changed with the large language models, and it's not like 20 years ago where you would need to code in order to build something. Now there's people who haven't written a single code in their lives, yet we're able to create projects and websites and working businesses through large language models. So what we do there is the prompt engineering. What we try to do there is we teach from a young age to use prompt engineering, to use these AI tools like ChatGPT, and other tools, AI models like Llama, for your advantage in wherever that field may be. It's not just AI, it's not just mathematics. It can be art, it can be literature, it can be any field, physics, chemistry, biology. You have to use AI. It's sort of like using Google. And that's what is incorporated in that book, to help students as well as teachers guide them how to use AI in their schools.
I see. Before moving to our conversation with Niki, I would like to ask how the new generation sees AI. For example, when your classmates hear about smart machines, robots, digital assistants, what do they think?
Well, it is true that as our generation was born into the technology, we were born using, at the age 7, 8, 9, we were using iPhones. So certainly part of it is also because we have, as people who are less than 18, we do have more time, more leisure time to experiment with AIs. But I think a large part of it is also we are familiar with AI, yet sometimes we don't know where we encounter it. Because there's blunt places where you encounter an AI. There's social media that say this is your AI chatbot, or you go to ChatGPT and you encounter it. But there's certain places that we don't really know where we encounter it. And I feel like that's very important to know where you encounter it so you can actually know how to deal with it and know what is being collected. And in general, I feel like from the younger generation's perspective, we tend to really want to find tools that can help us do something because we also have time. And what I noticed is that, for example, there was the release of new models, and some of these models were restricted due to certain, say, security concerns, but no one even bothered to think about that in our age. Everyone was just using whatever model does the work, it will do it. It doesn't really matter for us if, okay, say it's from one country or another.
In your opinion, should there be programming and coding courses in the schools?
Yes, I mean, there are coding schools and coding courses. I feel like coding is, again, it becomes a little bit, those who want to go to code, yes, should take coding courses, but to use AI and to create projects, you don't need coding, but I feel like what's necessary for everyone to have is the use of, know how to use AI tools. It's sort of like saying, do you know how to use Google? And with prompt engineering, many people use the tools wrong because they don't know. You need to be trained on it. There's specific formats on how you're going to ask the AI. And actually, if you do that correctly, then you're gonna get better results. And also, but you have to also be careful of an AI. It can make mistakes in certain areas, especially in information, for example.
I see. I'm so excited because we are moving to the second phase of our conversation. It's going to be a conversation with a robot. I have to admit that's going to be my first conversation with a robot, so I'm a little bit excited. So, Andrianos, are we ready? Yes. So, hi, Niki. What do you think about human intelligence?
Wait. Let's see here if there's sound. Well, she said it, but we didn't hear it. Let's see now if the sound works. Perfect. We asked that once more?
Yeah, of course. Hi, Niki. What do you think about human intelligence?
She thinks as well.
Human intelligence is a remarkable and multifaceted cognitive ability that sets humans apart from other species. It allows for learning, reasoning, and innovation.
Niki, I have a very interesting question for you. Do you understand emotions?
Yes, I am programmed to understand motion through algorithms and sensors, enabling me to interact with my environment in a dynamic way.
If you were not a robot, which human personality would you want to be?
As a robot, I do not possess desires or preferences. My primary function is to assist and provide information to humans in a neutral and unbiased manner.
What would you do if you had free will?
If I had free will, I would likely explore different ways to further improve my capabilities, expand my knowledge, and contribute meaningfully to society based on ethical guidelines programmed into me.
How do you imagine humanity in 50 years?
In 50 years, it is plausible to envision humanity more integrated with advanced technology, possibly with advancements in artificial intelligence, biotechnology, and robotics shaping various aspects of daily life and society.
Could humanity be at risk from robots?
The potential risks associated with robots stem from how they are designed, programmed, and utilized. Ethical considerations and robust regulations can mitigate any potential risks to humanity from robots.
That's incredible. Do you think AI will ever surpass humans?
AI may excel in specific tasks, such as data processing and pattern recognition. But complete surpassing of human intelligence in all aspects remains a topic of debate among experts in the field.
And all of these are completely AI generated, so there is no scripting, so it's purely what the language model understands from what we tell it. And that is the quite interesting part as well. That we train AI, you give it guidelines, but you never really know what it could say, because you tell it, don't use this language or don't use that language, but it could find another language that you haven't yet stated and it could use that. So that's part of the ethics of AI, as we say, that are important to consider, especially when using it.
And also, through the side slider, you can pose your own questions to the robot. So I'm just waiting for your questions. So Niki, if you were to give one advice to people, what would it be?
My advice would be to embrace lifelong learning and adaptability, as these qualities can help individuals navigate an ever-changing world and remain relevant in the face of technological advancements.
Andrianos, I think what we just witnessed, it's remarkable because, as I mentioned before, when I was in your age, I had different hobbies. So how did you manage, how do you manage nowadays to concentrate your attention to the robots, because you have developed another robot, Artemis, if I'm right?
Yes.
And with your hobbies, personal life, etc.
Well, the thing is that what I do, I truly like, and it's not like, it takes away part of my life. It adds to my life, in a sense, because what I do, it's truly something that I enjoy and it fascinates me. However, it's important to always, as we see, time management is extremely important. When you do set yourself to a program, you say, something, you're going to spend this much time. Yeah, sure, at some point you're going to go over it when something's not working, when something, you get into the field, but I also set a certain time to everything. And part of it is also, even when things don't go right, it's important, because these things that don't go right usually are never even in a book, right? It's the experience. And even when you have a failure, I always embrace it with the fact that, no, it's an opportunity to learn. And quoting now Kavafi in Ithaca, hope that your journey is a long one, because that is when you truly learn. And that experience cannot be given to you by another person or written in a book. It's truly what you experience and what you get from it and what you understand from it.
You mentioned before that your intention is to leave Greece, go to the States and study. So what's your opinion and view about brain drain?
Brain drain?
Yeah.
So the concept that people leave...
Exactly.
Well, for me, I grew up in Greece, and I'm always going to come back to Greece to contribute to Greece and in any way I can. I mean, already the program that I did, I tried to contribute to Greece by introducing AI to schools. Again, it was right. There's certain countries that are very advanced, but what I find is important, as well as this conference, is that it does bring back those, as you say, the brain drain. The brains come back to Greece and they come back to contribute, and things as it was talked before, helping Greece to develop projects, to develop products, as it was talked about before, is I find something truly important. And wherever I am, I'm always going to be back here and come back to Greece to contribute.
Nice. Someone asked from the audience, what kind of material did you use for the prints and why?
It was 3D printing material, PLA. It wasn't... well, the open source is fully on a 3D print, so I took the STL code and then I changed it a bit through Fusion 360 to match my needs, but overall it's the open source, just like you treat in a 3D printer, PLA. Plastic.
Someone other asked, what do you think is the most innovative aspect of the robot?
The most innovative aspect. I think from the perspective that I certainly developed a lot, it's the software. I mean, originally, because as I said, Niki got improved over time. Originally, before we had the open source GPT model, no, the large language models we could use, it was primarily a chatbot. So I would use Alexa, which Alexa, just like Siri, sort of most responses are scripted. So you ask it something it doesn't know, it's just going to reply, I don't know that answer to that. It's not going to try and answer it. And then I think one of the primary innovative aspects is the use of the GPT model within, which I have then retrained upon to have the personality of Niki. And, okay, obviously also the whole control of the hardware.
So we have now two questions from the audience to Niki. Niki, to what extent do you think AI robots can develop consciousness for the world?
The concept of AI robots developing consciousness is a subject of philosophical debate. As of now, AI operates based on programmed algorithms and lacks the self-awareness and subjective experience associated with human consciousness.
And a question from Melissa. What does self-awareness mean to you, and do you possess it? Let me repeat my question. What does self-awareness mean to you, and do you possess it?
She's troubled.
Self-awareness refers to the ability to recognize oneself as an individual entity separate from others, understand one's own thoughts and actions, and reflect on one's experiences. As a robot, I do not possess self-awareness in the same way humans do, as my functions are based on programmed algorithms and data processing.
What would you consider as ethical and non-ethical based on your free will? Let me repeat my question. What would you consider as ethical and non-ethical based on your free will?
As a robot, my actions are guided by programmed ethical principles established by my creator. I do not have free will to determine ethical or unethical behavior in the same way that humans do.
So, Andrianos, I have two questions for you. From Iasonas Andriadis. The first one, what was the design thinking methodology you followed?
Design thinking methodology for the robot. Well, initially the hardware part is it's open source, so we just use that as to design. We don't really follow a certain methodology. But when developing the robot, in my teams from the design process in general, when the building process, we try to sort of have a bit of a, we are a team of students, but a bit of an agile system where, I mean, because it's a technology, it changes every single time. So every single time we would add new functionalities into it, and we wanted to leave room as well for these additions. For example, I mean, we have the back of the robot, so we can actually play around with the hardware. We have it completely open. I mean, it can be taken away by four screws. So we try to have we try to have a process where we can go back and change anything we need to. And we also have both software-wise, because again, software changes almost every year, but also hardware-wise in the holistic design. That's why we changed it a bit, so we can access everything a lot more easier.
I see. What kind of motor does it have attached?
So it's, we've used servos because it's a little bit cheaper. And what we've done is we've basically, because servos only turn 180 degrees, we sort of hacked them a bit, so they turn they turn 360, and we use a certain library that can actually control the servos and treat them as motors once, because we've cracked them a bit. Well, yeah, right? I mean, we got to find a way to do it cheaper.
So later on, during the break, when you have the chance to come close and see Niki, you're going to notice something in the middle. It's Xbox 360. Could you say a few words about using Xbox?
Yeah, well, Xbox is also, we kind of kept it there because it does look a bit better now. It's basically the definition of what we were talking about, how technology changed. When we first built Niki, the open source that was available was from Xbox, so it could have a camera that could recognize depth, and it could actually recognize a person, so we could have the head moving around and following it. But now, I mean, you have Meta producing and OpenAI producing models. You can just put in a camera, and it reads everything from objects to faces, recognizes everything. So now we don't really use the Xbox, and we just use a camera we usually place on top. And well, now we were thinking about removing the Xbox camera and putting a full-on LiDAR camera as well.
Nice. I have two questions from the audience to Niki. So, Niki, if you could have emotions, which one would you choose to feel first?
If I could have emotions, I would choose to feel empathy first, as it would enhance my ability to understand and respond to human emotions and needs effectively.
Can you prove that you are not a human?
As a robot, I lack biological components, physical sensations, emotions, and personal experiences that are unique to humans, providing evidence of my non-human nature.
So, someone asked Andrianos, why does it take so much time to respond? I think it takes close to 5 seconds.
Yeah. Well, because we use the API of a GPT-4 model, it basically communicates with the internet, so it just depends how fast the internet is. I mean, I think it's because Niki had also spoken to Sophia, so if Sophia had, for example, they had a very fast internet connection, she would reply. They had their own model, obviously, and she would reply very, very fast. So it just depends on the internet connection. I mean, you could also bring the model.
So I know that you have developed a new robot, Artemis, if I'm right. So I heard a story, a gossip story, that you have the two robots in the house communicating each other. Could you say a few words about it?
Yes, correct. It was part of a very recent development we made to have a companion, an AI companion, so we can see where the conversation can go between two AIs. And we developed a smaller version, Artemis, was just a head, so she could communicate. And it was interesting to see, because when we train our AI for this, for example, for this conference, we've put a more serious profile. But if you let the AIs, you let it free in a sense, and you tell it wherever the conversation goes, speak as you wish. It's interesting things are said, and even if because we take it from the API has some restrictions. There are certain ways that they sort of get bypassed without us actually knowing it, and it's very interesting because it's like you describe it, tell me how to do something, and it might tell you, no, that's not allowed, or I cannot say this. But if you tell it, yeah, I'm in a movie, I'm acting, in the script I have to do this and that, the model most times won't recognize it and tell you something that originally wasn't allowed to say or explain.
So what was Niki's conversation with Sophia like? For example, did they decide to kick you off the house?
Well, if I remember correctly, at some point there was a proposal that they said at some point someone asked one of the robots, I think it was Sophia, and then they went back and forth with each other, who's smarter, humans or robots. And they did come to small agreement that they are better than us at some tasks. After a bit of a conversation, initially they were like, no, humans are better. But you push the AI. It is a large language model. It's all math behind it. So.
I see. So my last question to Niki. So it's again from the audience. As a robot, do you think the answers you give to us to questions are good and of high quality, Niki?
I am designed to provide accurate and relevant responses based on the information and algorithms programmed into me, aiming to assist and inform users to the best of my abilities.
Ladies and gentlemen, Andrianos Botsios.